Our show is brought to you by Rainbow, and Rainbow is good bread. Congratulations and best wishes to the Fairview Baptist Church, and congratulations for the efforts that were put forth in a stand against drugs. This comes from our sponsors, Sir Charles Taylor, located at 6225 Southeast 15th Street. The telephone number is 733-7600. Dr. A.L. Dow would like to join in this fight, and he says congratulations to Reverend Reed and the youth of the Fairview Baptist Church. Now, Dr. A.L. Dow is the top optometrist in Oklahoma City. And those of you that have children and you're on welfare, why don't you call Dr. Dow? 235-0536. And the federal government has made some special allowances in order that your children can see, and that's important. Save money and gasoline and time at Enterprise Square Place. Oh, what a deal. You will be glad you did. Go to Enterprise Square Place, 4901 North Martin Luther King Avenue. It's called Enterprise Square Place. Now, they have some specials going on. You can get some slacks clean for $2. I want you to hurry. Slacks clean, shirts for 90 cents. I want you to hurry on Monday and go to Sherry's Cleaners, located in Enterprise Square Place. Now, you can pay your utility bills, every one of them. You can visit the United States Post Office. You can go to Sheriff. You can always go to the laundry and the laundromat. If you're a senior citizen on Monday and Thursday, you can go from 7 a.m. to 11 a.m. because all you have to do is call 427-9302. Watkins Stevens Skyview Convalescent Nursing Home is clean, it's modern, it's for the sick and the aged. It has 24 hours nursing service. Betty Ari Lynch is an administrator. Mrs. Bug is a director of nursing. Now that's at Watkins Stevens Skyview Convalescent Nursing Home here in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. The post office located at Enterprise Square Place, 4901 North Martin Luther King, is a bona fide post office. And guess what? They now have express service. You can send it today and they will get it tomorrow. Haywood Hills Carpet, 1931 Northeast 23rd Street. The telephone number is 427-5411. It's really nice to have a prescription shop that you can depend on. That's Mike Kerson's, who has experience, integrity, and service. We deliver to go. Free delivery of any kind, and all doctors' prescriptions are welcome. A 10% discount for all senior citizens. The telephone number is 427-3092. This is the Clara Luper's radio show, and today is a big day. Today is a day that I want you to remember, and I want you to listen to Clara Luper's radio show because I have a story. And this is a story that I hate to tell, but I have to tell it. Sometimes as we travel down life's highway, we think that we have heard everything. But I want you to just wait, and I want you to hear the Clara Luper's radio show, because I'm about to bring you right now one of the worst stories that you will ever hear. This is Clara Luper. Hello? Yes. Luella, I am so happy you called me, because it has been called to my attention something that I didn't believe could happen in this country. I'm going to ask you some questions. Your sister died a year ago. Is that correct? And what was her name? Now, Susie's funeral was held at the Antioch Baptist Church here in Oklahoma City, right? Now, where was she buried? At Hillcrest Cemetery. And where is that cemetery located? All right, now she was buried a year ago. Is that correct? Now, if she were buried a year ago, why were you out to the cemetery yesterday?
Well, it had come to my attention that the burial was not as it should have been, that her casket had been totally destroyed in the process of burying her.
Just a minute now. You are saying that she was buried at Hillcrest Cemetery. And that her casket was destroyed. Wait just a minute now, Luella. She was buried a year ago, and you found out this week that her casket was nearly destroyed. Now, the casket that was in the ground. All right. Now, in order to go and research, you would have to go through some legal matters, right? What did you do?
What we did was I contacted my other two sisters and told them what had been told to me. And we made the decision that we would have her body brought up to check it to see if it's correct. But what we had to do was sign papers to get her legally be able to resume her body. We were able to get these papers from the health department.
Okay, you got the papers from the health department. You called your mortician, and who was that? Oh, Temple Funeral Home. And when you called him, you went out to the cemetery, right? Okay, now what happened?
Once we got to the cemetery, we got everything set up, and we were getting ready to dig the grave up. But during this time, the owner, we had got the grave uncovered because we found out the grave was not buried any deeper than 19 inches in the ground.
The grave was 19 inches? The deepest part of the grave was 19 inches. Okay.
The owner came up and told us that we had no right to do this. This was privately owned property. Well, during the meantime, Mr. Temple was very helpful to us. He also asked the head of the health department if he would come out with us in case we had some trouble.
Now, Luella, the head of the health department for Oklahoma County was there.
He was there.
And your sister was buried by 19 inches.
Right, that was the deepest part.
Okay, that's the deepest part. All right, then what happened?
Okay, well, he said that we were in the wrong. Well, during the meantime, the man from the health department told him that we had did everything according to the law, and this was our land. We had purchased it, and that we had a right to do what we did. Because the owner had called the police on us and everything to try to have us removed.
Now, the owner of the Hillcrest Cemetery is a white man named what? Cows. All right.
Okay, after the lawsuit, we did have the correct papers and everything. They did not bother us and what we were doing. So we went on and we got the grave up and we decided to, before we opened it, the vault that you put the casket in, it was broken. It was not sealed.
Just a minute. You were saying that the vault was broken?
Into the vault.
You could see into the vault. And it was broken.
It was broken.
Okay.
Not sealed at all.
Okay.
Okay, after all this, with the owner and the police and all that, we went on and they uncovered. They removed the top from the vault.
Okay, they removed the top from the vault. Okay, and what happened?
And after they removed it, we were just shocked at what we found.
What did you find, Luella?
It looked like a salvage yard where you threw metal and stuff.
Okay, now you're saying that her grave, the casket, the vault that she had looked like a salvage yard.
Yeah, the casket was destroyed. It was beaten or whatever, and all the hounds and things that were torn from it had just been thrown off into the grave. Not to mention the casket was not sitting in the grave. It had been dumped in there on the side.
And your sister's body was catacombed.
It was all in there under all of the debris that had been thrown in there on top of it.
Okay, and
Every time we asked them, we told them to stop, leave it alone, that we need someone else to see it besides us. So they stopped, and my other two sisters went and called Channel 9 TV station.
and what happened?
They came out, and they, of course, were just horrified like everyone else. They took pictures of everything, the casket and the grave, and the way it looked, and, you know, and everything. So when they did this, they tried to bring the casket up. But the casket was so destroyed that they could not hook onto anything on it. It was already rusted and corroded, where the back that's supposed to have been straight was bent all out of shape. And the vault was too small to start with. This is what the problem, I think, really came in. The vault, the casket, so it was too small.
Well, when you get ready to bury someone out the Hillcrest, they have those boxes themselves, right? They have a monopoly out there.
Correct. They do not allow, you know, it's sort of, I guess, when you get the grave, they sell you the vault. He makes them himself out there.
So if he makes one and it's too small for a body, they just mash it in.
Apparently so, because, all they had to do was remove it, dig a hole large and put a big one in, because this is what we wind up having to do, is rebury her all over again. Had to get a new vault, we had to get a new casket.
And you had to pay for that?
And then have to have the ground, the grave dug deep enough, so we were told that a grave is supposed to be at least 5.5 to 6 feet deep. So this is what we did before we left there yesterday.
Luella. Okay. Fanny's also on the line, too. Yes. Yes, Fanny.
After we had did all of this, we were getting ready to leave, and we went out their side entrance. They have a side street that you can go out, and it connects you with Richardson Street. Across that street, they had nothing but vaults stacked there.
Just sitting out there.
And they were all the same size. They were just stacked on top of each other, and they were all the same size. There was no difference in the sizes.
They were all there, so if a person go out there that was 6'2", they would be cramped down in those vaults.
What it apparently looks. If you're not a normal-sized person, if you're overweight or maybe extra tall, you're in trouble. They're just gonna beat you into the ground.
And this is what happened. Is that all of the story?
I remember when we had the funeral, they mentioned to us that they couldn't get her down to the ground. And we asked what was the problem, and they said that the casket was too big for the vault, and that they were going to take her back to the funeral home and then put another box in and bury her the next day.
Did they do that?
No, they didn't.
Evidently not.
We were told that she was buried the very same day. What they did was simply took a hammer and started to beat the casket in on one side, trying to decrease the size of the casket so it could be forced into the vault. And once they got it back to the cemetery, they thought they'd beat it in enough or whomever, and they tried to bury it. And once they could not do that, they call it a backhoe. What you dig the grave with, they took it like a hammer and went to beat it into this small vault. And it still would not fit, but by this time the casket was destroyed. So they took it and just dumped it in sideways, which left the body exposed. We asked Mr. Temple how long would a body last. He said if it's embalmed correctly and sealed correctly, it would last years. But her body was not protected in either way. It was up against the elements. Because once the casket was, they had to slide ropes up on it to pull it out, because there's no way they could have just pulled it out. It would have tore totally up. You can see the water and moisture dripping from it where we all know when it rains, the water goes underground. So therefore, her body had already started to decompose. In fact, her head almost fell off as they were trying to move her.
You know what it reminds me of?
No.
We buried a lady that was 200, say 40 pounds, and she looked like she was about 90 pounds. And they pulled her.
Isn't that something? I've asked you to tell this story because there are many of us that have relatives buried in Hillcrest Cemetery. And we're going to have to do something, and I can assure you that you will have the support of this city, black and white.
Luper, this is the reason we stopped right in the mill to get a TV station out, because we know there's people, because we have other relatives, our parents out here, grandparents, other relatives, and we feel like for what they charge you to start off with, if you don't need this stuff, why make us pay for it? And they take it, destroy it, and during it bury you without anything. That it should be stopped. If someone ought to see it. But then the TV station didn't put it on the TV. They said it was too gross to show it.
Now, can you imagine if something is too gross to show on TV? Can you imagine how?
Yes, I can imagine the people that it affected, but I can assure you that Oklahoma City has heard you on the Clara Luper radio show, and something will be done about it.
I mean, if it's not stopped, it's going to...
It's going to be stopped. It's going to be stopped. It's going to be stopped. Now, I can assure you of that. It's going to be stopped. And you have people in this city that's going to do something about it. You all have been very kind, and I know how much strength God has given you to tell us this story. Thank you so very kindly.
Thank you.
Okay, bye-bye.
Those of you in radio land, I've just told you a story. Now, the proof of the pudding is always in what you actually see. I would like for you to go by Temple Funeral Home, where this casket is on exhibit in the back. Mr. Temple will furnish you with additional information. And some way and somehow, this community must come together. And this problem must be solved now. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a Clara Luper radio show, and this part of our show is a paid political announcement. We are going today to talk to you about, first, the county assessor's race. The county assessor is a very important person in your county. because he has to do with the assessing of homes. And if it's anything that you need is an honest, hard-working county assessor. And that's why I've invited Mr. George C. Keys here today. How are you, Mr. Keys?
I'm doing very well. Thank you, Clara.
Well, I'm really doing well. We're a few days away from the election. You've been our county assessor now for how many years?
I've been assessor for 2 terms, 2 4-year terms, and then a short period after an appointment just before my first term started. It would be about 9 years total.
All right, now you are asking the people in Oklahoma County to re-elect you as the county assessor. Is that correct?
Yes, I'm asking for their vote once again.
Why do you feel this is so important in 1986?
You know, Clara, the economy is not so good right now, and I think this is a bad time to make a change in this office because we do assess the property fair and equal, and we worked hard. We're doing a good job, we think, and we just think the people ought to vote for us once again.
In the county assessor's office, do you have all races represented?
We have many races. We have quite a number of minorities working in our office.
When I interviewed you some 8 years ago, I told you that there were only 2 blacks in the county assessor's office. How many blacks do we have in that office now?
We have 13 blacks in the assessor's office at this time.
Are they receiving adequate pay for their services, or are they just there as decorators?
No, they have important jobs. We have trained many people in our office, both black and white, and we train them as professionals. It's not just any old job. They come down there, and if they have the ability, we train them where we make appraisers out of them. They work out in the field appraising property. And then we have a number of positions there in the office that are good jobs for both black, white, and we have many other minorities.
You have come home to this community through the Soul Bazaar every year and through those fine people from your office that have given people information that you could not ordinarily get. And we would like to thank you for participating for 8 years as one of the exhibitors at the Soul Bazaar.
Yes, Clara, we appreciate you having us there. When we go to the Soul Bazaar, we take a complete list of our assessment roll, all the names of all the people that have property in Oklahoma County. And when they come by our booth, we can pull their name pretty quick from the microfiche records and show them what their assessment is and answer any questions that they might have. And you're right, we have done that for 8 years at the Soul Bazaar.
You're very close to this minority community, aren't you, county assessor?
Well, I think I am.
Will
Yes.
you continue to be when you are elected?
Yes, I'll continue to be.
Will your doors be open so those of us that have problems can come in and talk to the county assessor?
My door is always open in the assessor's office. That's one thing that I talk about a lot. We have an open door policy. If you have a problem, come into our office. I'll talk to you personally. If I'm tied up with somebody else, you can talk to one of my assistants. But if you insist on talking to me, I'm available.
You are available. You're saying you are available. I see Senator E. Melvin Porter coming in. Senator Porter, you are down to the courthouse all the time. Tell me about George Keys. Is he a man of his word, as you see it?
There's not any doubt in my mind, Mrs. Luper. Mr. Keys is a good county assessor. He does have an open door policy. There are young blacks that are trained in his office to become professionals. His employment force, he's an equal employer, and he deserves to be reelected to the office as county assessor.
And you're saying that he is accessible to people?
Not any question about it, Mrs. Luper. I'm at that courthouse almost every day, 5 days a week. And Mr. Keys has an open door policy, no question about it.
Well, if you say it, Senator Porter, there are a lot of people out there that believe you, and certainly I'm one of those people.
Well, I'm certainly voting for Mr. Keys, and my family is, and I urge this community to re-elect George Keys as county assessor.
Now, what do you have to say, Mr. Keys, after that county endorsement? I wish I could get that county endorsement. I wish somebody would say, vote for Clara Luper.
Those were very kind words, Senator Porter, and if you were serving my district, you'd have my vote.
Oh, that's really something. I love that. And once again, I'm going to give you this mic for a minute. I would like for you to talk to the 600,000 people in the Oklahoma City area that are listening to the Clara Luper radio show.
Clara, I appreciate the opportunity to be on your radio show today. You're always so kind to me when I come on. I'd just like to tell the voters in Oklahoma County that I have worked hard as your county assessor. We follow the law in our office. We try very hard to be fair and equal when we assess your property. If you have any questions or any problems, our door is always open. And I would just, again, like to ask you to vote for me once more and let me serve another term as your county assessor for Oklahoma County. Thank you very much.
And thank you for being my guest. That was a paid political announcement paid for by friends of George Keys, your county assessor. I would urge you on Tuesday to go to the polls and remember George. Coming in now is a young man that has worked extremely hard, and certainly today I've never been so proud of anyone in my life as I was when he stood and spoke today on the steps of the state capitol. When he marched along with other people saying that I stand against drugs. How are you, Carrizo?
I'm doing great, Miss Luper.
Well, Carrizo, we're coming now to the end of a campaign, and I know you would like to take this time and thank the people for what they have done for you.
Yes, I'd like to thank the people for letting me in their homes, the preachers and the pastors for letting me come and say just a few words. And I just take this opportunity just to say thank you very much, and I will look forward to being your state representative.
All right, now you are looking forward, and certainly there are people that are looking forward to your being our state representative. But in the meantime, what are you going to do when you get to be state representative?
I'm going to listen to the people in District 97. I'm going to take their ideas and my ideas and make the best decision for our district. I'm going to fight for education on all levels, fight for the needs of the elderly, crime and remedy for prevention, drug abuse and prevention. I'm going to work for more jobs and expansion of business opportunities and the economy and getting our fair share here in District 97.
All right, now the election will be Tuesday, and at that time I'm sure that you are wanting people to come in. And no, you don't. At that time, you want them to go directly to the polls, right?
Yeah, I want them to vote, and I want them to vote early that day. And if they need a ride, they can give us a call at our headquarters at 521-0760.
521-0760.
Correct.
And they can call you.
Yes, they can, Miss Luper.
Carrizo, I know you would like to thank your family and your friends, and especially your sisters. And that little brother, your mother, that have stood by you. Do that for me.
Yes, I'd like to thank all of my sisters and my brother. They worked just diligently with me all through the campaign, many late nights, many early mornings. I'd like to say just thank you, my brothers, sisters, uncles, and aunties, and everyone for helping out.
And how about those volunteers up to your office?
I'd like to thank all the volunteers that helped on our campaign very much.
This morning you made a stirring speech on the steps of the Capitol. Would you repeat some of the things that you told the people this morning?
Yes, I said it was a sad day in America when we had to wait till a star by the name of Len Bias died and another football star that died before we recognized the problem that was already here in America. And we look here in Oklahoma, there's been so many things. On Stonewall, there was various drug busts. On Lottie, there was a various drug bust. And I think these help open our eyes to the problems that are already here in the state of Oklahoma. And I like people to say no to drugs, because I've never experienced drugs and I don't plan to. And as leaders of today, we must be sober-minded to make good decisions for the people of our various districts.
As we come down to the closing broadcast of the 1986 primary election, you've come here week after week. You've talked to the people. Your name has become a family name in the homes of thousands of Oklahoma Cityans. And now we come to the closing moment. What would you like to say to the people?
I'd like to ask the people on Tuesday, August 26th, to vote Carrizo Meadows. If you elect me as your state representative, you'll have something you can be proud of. You'll have something that will listen to your hopes, your dreams, and lead our district the way that you all want it to grow. And I'd like to say just thank you in advance for your vote, August 26th. And please call us if you need a ride or know someone that needs a ride to the polls at 521-0760. Thank you very
And
much.
you're asking people to vote early. What time will the polls open?
The poll opens at 7 o'clock.
And close at what?
7 o'clock
So
in the
you're
evening.
asking people to vote early.
Yes.
And vote for whom now?
Carrizo Meadows for state representative of District 97.
Thank you, Carrizo Meadows, and that's a paid political announcement paid for by the Friends of Carrizo Meadows. How can you describe him? Some calls him the senator. Some calls him the giant. One of probably the best loved and the most hated men in Oklahoma County. He was born, they tell me, in Morris, Oklahoma. Is that correct? Boynton, Oklahoma.
Okmulgee.
You were born in Okmulgee, Oklahoma?
That's
I'm
right.
sure glad Mr. Wright is listening. Last night, Mr. Wright told me you were born in Boynton, Oklahoma.
No, my mother was born in Boynton.
Now we have it. I'm sorry, Mr. Wright. You know, you're right, and I'm right. I told you were born in Okmulgee. You told me you was born in Boynton. But it doesn't make any difference where you were born. It's where you going. Where do you plan to go on in January of 1987?
I plan to go back to the state senate and continue the partnership I've had with my district for 22 years, Mrs. Luper, and that is serve them as their state senator.
For 22 years, you've had a partnership? I don't understand what you mean.
Well, my district has elected me to the Senate since 1964. And we've had sort of a marriage, a partnership, and a lot of people have tried to break it up. None have succeeded. 2 women are trying to break it up now.
2 women are trying to break up
Oh,
your
yes, they
partnership
are.
with your people?
They sure are.
Do you think you have enough women in your district to keep you together?
Mrs. Luper, I think that there are enough women and men, young and old, white and black, who will re-elect Melvin Porter to the state senate.
Why do you think you should be reelected?
Well, I've served my district, and I have kept my pledge and faith and confidence with the people. I have responded to their needs. I have listened to them. I have not treated them as if they did not exist. And I don't make any apology for that, because people have come to my office while we're in session and when we're not in session. And I try to respond to their problems and their needs, and at the same time respond to the needs and the problems of our state, Oklahoma.
Senator, I don't want any generalizations. I want to know specifically. Number one, were you the senator that eliminated segregation on the laws, on the books of Oklahoma?
Mrs. Luper, I authored the Anti-Discrimination Act. I authored most of the legislation that removed all of the discrimination laws off of our state statutes. I authored the bill that permits 18-year-olds to vote, permit 18-year-olds to serve on jury duty. I authored the bill that you did not have to be a property owner to be a juror, but rather that you could be a registered voter. I authored this past year the bill that kept state money from going to South Africa. And we have worked together with our fellow legislators and enacted a fair housing bill, a Martin Luther King holiday, Spring Lake Votech Center in our district. We've made some real positive, good things take place. And you know, the thing that surprises me, those people who want to unseat me now, not one single time did they ever come up and say you ought to do it this way. Vicki Miles LaGrange says she's for economic development. Yet she takes 2 whiskey parties that she's sponsoring to get elected to the Senate, to the Sheraton Hotel, and to a club in northwest Oklahoma City. Well, there are clubs in Oklahoma City in the heart of her district that if she's going to have those kinds of parties, she believes in economic development, why didn't she cater to Elmer's or Leo's or the Odyssey or some of the other clubs here, rather than take that money and that wealth northwest Oklahoma City, where it does not come back into this district?
Why don't you have a whiskey party?
Well, I've never done that to be elected to the Senate, and don't ever intend to start doing it. I've never, in the 22 years, ever had that type of party to get elected to the Senate. To me, that's an insult to the citizens of my district. I don't think that I have to be around alcohol in order to get people to support me, either financially or by their vote, And I won't do it, I refuse to do it, and I haven't done it.
Senator Porter, you ought to be able to get along with the power structure. Why is it that you all